More trouble brews for Trump's efforts to end birthright citizenship. A U.S. district judge in Seattle has decried that he described as the administration's treatment of the Constitution, saying that Trump was trying to change it with an executive order. The Seattle judge's injunction comes 2 weeks after he had called Trump's order blatantly unconstitutional and issued a 14-day temporary restraining order blocking its implementation here. Now, the Justice Department has appealed his order. This also comes a day after the Maryland federal judge issued a nationwide pause in a separate but similar case involving immigrants' rights groups and pregnant women whose soon-to-be-born children could be affected here. Remember, the president's executive order seeks to end the automatic grant of citizenship to the children born on the United States to parents who are in the country on whatever reasons, maybe illegally or even on temporary basis, such as a student or a tourist visas here. Now, obviously, this therefore is a story that has immense resonance with a lot of people in India. But first, let's listen into the reactions coming in.
It is a pleasure to be here again outside of this courthouse where once again the U.S. Constitution was defended, where the rule of law was defended, and we reaffirmed what it means to be an American in this country, that we do not have a king, we have a president who must abide by the laws, and if they want to amend the Constitution, there is a process by which to do that. But as of today, we're back to the status quo that we've had in this country for 150 years, that you are an American if you are born on U.S. soil. So I'm really thrilled with the court's reaffirmance of that today.
So this is, of course, a move that has immense repercussions for thousands of Indians in India as well. To discuss that, let me go across to my esteemed guests joining me. We have Achal Malhotra, former ambassador, and also Pathikrit Payne, Geo-Political Analyst. Thank you all for joining me on this show today. Achal Malhotra, let me start with you. Ambassador Malhotra, what do you make of this dogged resistance by the U.S. judiciary to go against Trump's issue of birthright citizenship, given that it is likely to impact thousands, if not tens of thousands of families back in India and those staying in the United States, and it's something that could become a flashpoint in bilateral ties?
Well, I think from the very beginning, when Trump had issued this executive order, the overall opinion was that it runs counter to the constitutional provisions in America. And many states had already indicated there were utterances from different segments of the American society that this would not work because this violates the spirit of the letter and spirit of the Constitution of the USA. Now, Trump may have his own opinion, his own views, his own reasons for doing it, because I think we all know Trump is very, a businessman, a transactional type of a person. He looks for, the cost-benefit analysis is part of his approach. And he is of the opinion that this provision of the American Constitution is being misused by the foreigners. And overall, it may also be in the part of, it's in the mind of his, the immigration policies also to curb on the, people trying to come and settle here and then acquiring the American citizenship. So eventually, I think if he's serious about it, may have to go for the amendment of the Constitution. Otherwise, legal, the overall opinion is that he doesn't stand a good chance in the legal battle. And yes, of course, hundreds of thousands of Indians, like many other foreign nationals, are going to suffer because of this policy. But whether this will become a bilateral issue or not, I don't think so. I can't say so. I think it's the host government's policy, internal matter. I don't think we can question it. When we amended our own citizenship amendment,
Yes.
The act, this is the point, this is the stand we had taken, that nobody has business to comment upon our decision who becomes Indian citizen and under what circumstances become an Indian citizen. This is purely our right. So I don't think same applies to the migration, immigration, illegal, legal. So we have to to say that we'll make an issue out of it. looks unlikely. And we also don't think it will be in tune with our own approach to matters. Then we open a floodgate for anybody to come and
Okay.
start questioning our own policies. Over to you.
Fair enough. Pathikrit Payne, going by what Ambassador Malhotra was saying, has Trump essentially tried to do too much too early into its second term? And by trying to make these sweeping changes in migration when it comes to these moves on deportation that we've discussed already as well, trying to curtail birthright citizenship here, and was him running up against the liberal wall in the United States, whether it be in the executive or in the judiciary, was something that was inevitable and perhaps should even have been foreseen?
Well, Ritangshu, I think the Trump administration was prepared in terms of knowing that it would face a lot of resistance. And I think he went to the election saying that he would do it. So it's not perhaps that he is doing it suddenly. But yes, if you want to change constitutional provisions, you have to bring constitutional amendments. You cannot do it with the executive order. That is where the issue is. And I think what he is trying to do is to put the ball in motion. I mean, the debate has started. And of course, the judiciary itself, there are strong allegations from both sides that it is very, very partisan in its approach. So there will be resistance. A district judge can put a stay order. It cannot annul the entire thing. I think for Trump administration, the most important thing will be to go for constitutional amendment, which is a long drawn process. There will be complications, but pillars of constitutions must be defended, but misuse of constitutional provisions cannot be entertained by any country, and that's applicable for United States also. There is this whole charade of birthing tourism that has been given shape in United States, where people from other countries, they decide their tour of United States based on the time of the delivery of the next generation. Just to ensure that they get an American citizenship. There are millions of illegal immigrants who get in just to ensure that the next generation takes birth there. And the same is applicable to those who get an H-1B visa or an education visa. That has to stop. For India, let me tell you this, there is no problem with the H-1B visa. People get the visa to go and work. When the visa period is over, you should come back. But if you expect that just because you've got a visa, then you will apply for a green card, then you will apply for a citizenship, and then for the next 7 generations of your family should stay there, and if you do not get a chance, that means you have been betrayed by the United States. I think we have to be far more rational in our expectations of what, it's up to the Americans to decide whether they want to give you a citizenship or not. There are so many people of Indian origin who are in the Trump administration. Shows that it is not about race, it is not about anything else. But there has to be a limit. Just as India has a problem with illegal immigrants, I mean, the Americans also have that issue. So I think somewhere this balancing act will be done. Trump will have to understand that, again, it's true. Trump will have to understand he's just a president who has to go according to the constitutional rules. Even if you want to amend the constitution, you have to go by the constitutional provisions of changing the rules. And you can't just do it by executive order. It doesn't happen in a democracy. So he would understand that it's not that you say 25% tariff, so you do whatever you want with Canada. The same thing you cannot do with the Constitution of the United States. He has to go through the long run process. But the whole discussion has been
to your
put
mind,
into motion.
what explains this? Pathikrit, then to your mind, what explains this slew of executive orders, which, as you pointed out, was inevitable to get a Newtonian impact from the judiciary, response backlash from the judiciary or the executive? Was it possibly to just set the cat amongst the pigeons? Was it to declare his intent that he is going to go for it and then he's going to, this is just this first step in his pursuing of his aims? Or was it just to satisfy or placate the MAGA lobby to say that, just in the last few days, I've at least shown my hands very clear and this is what my intention is going to be?
I think the first and foremost is the third thing that you said, that he wanted to show that I am very keen to do it. It may take time, but I'm showing that my intent is right. And from day one, I'm I am on it. So he also knows. It's not that Trump doesn't know that he has to go through the constitutional mechanism of changing the amendment and it cannot be done by the executive order. But he is trying to show that the judiciary is rattled and that, look, before he became, he was sworn in, he has been talking about one thing, that the judiciary is partisan, judiciary is filled with leftist, radical leftist people. He has been tweeting on these things. Now he would go back to his own voters and say, look, this is what the judiciary is doing. He is preventing me from executing what I have promised to you. Please understand one thing. In 2 years' time, Trump will have his biggest litmus test when the elections for the Congress will start. So before that, he wants to show that he has been
True.
on the job. It might take years, perhaps, I don't know, to convince all the states to get two-thirds majority. But he wants to show that he is on the job right away, and he's not going to back down on it. Back to you.
Ambassador Malhotra, let me then come to you for the last word. As Pathikrit was pointing out, this has been a provision which, let's be all reasonable and admit that this has been a provision that has been vastly misused, not just by illegal immigrants who are trying to sneak into the country, but even, as we have seen, very prominent and very affluent families in the country, whether it be celebrities or business families, often get tourist visas to ensure that they deliver their children on United States soil. And the hysteria is such that when Trump first signed his executive order, there was a rush of cesarean appointments given for children, for couples to get their babies born preterm or before their natural delivery date, in order to ensure that the babies are born before this deadline kicks in. What would, in honestly, your assessment be, or your advice be to these families? Because my honest assessment is that Trump is going to be very difficult to read, and therefore the policies around key issues like visas and citizenship and migration in the United States are going to be in flux for the next several months.
No, yes, of course. My sincere advice to my own people in India is that first and foremost, they should not try to go to United States of America or any other destination through the illegal channels, because it's always going to be fraught with difficulties. They may be cheated, they may be, misused. Secondly, of course, the educated people, we should not, in our, the zest to get an American citizenship or to pursue the American dream, we should not get into these kind of schemings that you plan your trip, you plan your birth of your child in America so that he or she can get American citizenship. But then you see, this is the choice of an individual. You can have a firm view on advising the people not to choose the illegal route. But I can't advise, any individual. You can't say that, well, if you are going legally through H1B visa or some other legal routes, please don't do. But this provision is there, so everybody wants to make use of the available provisions. That the American dream, it never-ending kind of thing, unless we can create such an environment within our own country that would discourage people and would have no incentive for going abroad. Unless those kind of conditions are created here, this situation is going to come across. But now, what Trump is doing, we must understand. During his campaign, he made some promises. And as soon as he took over, he wants to show the world around that he's very serious about implementing them. If you look at the illegal immigration part of it, there are estimated 14 million illegal immigrants in the United States, out of which 60% are not even documented. Other 40% are living on temporary basis or whatever it is. Now, even if they are serious about deporting them after going through all the procedures and legal, hurdles, it may take 14 years for them to deport them, the kind of expenditure. So I don't think he's that determined to do that. And more importantly, he'll face pressure from the local industry, because let's not forget it, whether they're legal or illegal. They are employed in all sorts of jobs, agriculture, plucking the fruits, in hotel industry, restaurants, doing the menial job. So, and at low costs. So it's going to backfire for the economy also. But he has done it in a very publicized manner, just to create a deterrence.
Yeah.
And here also, I don't know how far he'll be able to go, but he has made clear that this is his intention. And I think he's right to the extent that this provision is being misused. So either they have to do away with this provision
All right.
or live with it.
All right. All right. Ambassador Malhotra, thank you so much for giving us your valued perspectives. Also, thank you, Pathikrit, for joining us. Appreciate it as always. We need to